Welcome to the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. It is a special Wednesday afternoon edition in celebration of vacation, of celebration of our Declaration of Independence. It's July 4th weekend, baby. Let's go, Jeremy. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are you doing anything? Are you doing anything for the 4th?
You know, I will probably watch Independence Day.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll watch the sequel. I've actually never seen it. I heard it was bad.
Really?
But I'm on vacation, so what am I going to do? Let's watch a bad movie.
You got time to burn, baby. I love it. I could be at a barbecue right now. Probably one of my favorite Will Smith movie roles, truth be told. Just so enjoyable. I love it.
Oops. What? Why oops? Yes. Let's try that again. Yes. Without the oops.
Without the oops?
Jeff Goldblum.
No, that took me a moment. Listen, Jeremy and I both have time to kill. We're going to spend it on video games and writing and reading and stuff like that. If you got time to kill this weekend, go spend it on royalsreview.com. Check out some of the great work that is going on over there. Get ready for the MLB draft. It is coming up right around the corner, and this is a big one for the Royals. We're going to have Greg Walker back on the podcast to talk about the draft here in the coming days. Plus, we will have old friend Sean Newkirk on the podcast in the coming weeks. So very, very excited for that. But Jeremy, let's go ahead and hop right into it. We got a loaded show. Coming up later on, we will talk about MJ Melendez's hot streak. We will talk about the two Kansas City Royals prospects that are heading down to Arlington and why they deserve it. Woo! And then lastly, I got a little rant for the fans. So we'll talk about that. But first, it is right now when we are recording this, it is 12:40 Eastern Standard Time. So this isn't going to get out before fans can go and cast their final vote. I hope that if you had any spare votes to use for the All-Star game, you used them on Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez.
If you have spare votes, just general spare votes, there are probably other more important elections you can use them on. But yeah, if you have spare All-Star.
Yeah. Listen, it is an election year. We're not going to get into the whole, why do you have spare votes? Like, where did those come from? No, but you had, as a Royals fan, you could vote once a day in phase 2 of voting. And Jeremy, I was going to sit here and talk about do we think they're going to be starters for the American League? Do we think Salvi and Bobby are going to be starters? Fortunately, we looking at that tally right now, and ain't looking too promising at all.
Yeah, it's The Orioles are pulling a 2015 Royals right now, where Orioles fans got their first taste of the postseason in a while. For them, 10 years, the last time. And they're back now. They're still playing good, so their fans are voting in droves. And we're going to see. And honestly, the Orioles are a very good team. Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, both also deserving of all-star honors. I really hoped that we would see Salvi and Bobby as starters.
Yeah.
But, if the pattern holds true, right, where the team gets their first playoff success in a while, and the next year the voters show up, and really that's kind of the fans kind of showed up in general in 2015 after the playoff run in 2014, then let's we'll get them next year. It'll be okay.
It will be absolutely fine. And as we sit here today, there are two AL players that are on an absolute historic tear right now in Henderson and the Yankees' Aaron Judge. And unfortunately for Bobby Witt Jr., Henderson is a shortstop. All right. Yeah. It's not very often that you'll see a 4.9 FWAR season from a Royals player, period, so far in the season. But just go overlooked because Henderson is so
towards
good.
That 10 WAR season. Not on a pace for 10 WAR anymore. My goodness.
Yeah.
Even a 9 WAR season is just unreal. And I would like to remind everyone that one of the best parts is not just that Bobby Witt Jr. should get serious MVP consideration, but if he finishes in the top 3, which feels like a real possibility right now, not a guarantee, but a real possibility, then the Royals would get some extra draft capital next year.
Correct. Yeah, that is. I think I heard Soren Petro talk about that on Kaufman Quarter a couple of weeks back. that is actually like a massive thing to keep track of down the stretch because it's not like you're getting an eighth or ninth round pick. Like you're getting a competitive balance level pick and just stacking up on top 50 prospects in the MLB draft is
And
a
the
good way to go.
increased draft money
Yes.
allotment as well is lets you, potentially convince someone who might not have been willing to somebody who was going to commit to a college. It's easier to convince them to come play for you, or whatever.
Yeah.
So
And I was thinking about that today because Logan O'Hoppe is kind of a guy who's making turning some heads there for
yeah,
the Angels. He was a 23rd round draft pick back in the day, and they basically just bought him out of his college commitment. So that draft pool is pretty valuable.
yeah,
It really, really is. But let's go ahead and look at some of this stuff with Salvi because unfortunately he really is falling off at the plate down the stretch. He's still on a very good pace at the plate. He's still doing good things. 123 weighted runs created plus. The walks are up, the strikeouts are down. It's hard to hate what he is doing as on the season as a whole. But if you go back to May, he was a serious MVP candidate in the American League. Right now, he is very much out of that conversation. And even during phase one of voting, he had a major statistical leg up on Rutschman. And now, as phase two comes around, it's very, very comparable. I think their OPS is like 0.002 difference right now. Meanwhile, a month ago, it was like a 0.1% or a zero point 0.1 difference, excuse me. Jeremy, I mean, no matter how the voting goes, both these guys are playing at an all-star level, right?
yeah, and they'll both be selected as alternates. And just to round out, I think what the Royals will get, I do believe Seth Lugo is gonna get the call. I mean,
Yeah.
leading the league in wins, ERA, innings pitched. I don't know if he'll get to start. There's certainly an argument to be made for him to start, but
Hmm.
he will be selected, I believe, and that's probably all the Royals are going to manage this year.
Yeah, unfortunately so. So I do want to look at Seth Lugo a little bit closer because yeah, right now he's leading the ERA race by a healthy margin, sitting at 2.17 as of today's recording. Got a good leg up on the Orioles, Corbin Burns, and the Tigers, Tariq Skubal, and then after that it gets a little crowded, if you will. His FIP isn't amazing because he hasn't been striking out guys at the same level as others have been. But overall, like what is to hate? He is one of two double-digit pitching win players at this point in the season. I absolutely think he should be an all-star, if not the starter. I could see them going with with because a sexier pick, if you will. I don't know who that would be personally. Maybe it would be um, Corbin Burns. But like Garrett Crochet of the White Sox, I get it. I don't like the White Sox either, but damn, for a starting pitcher to have a 3.7 FWAR season so far, that is very, very
Is it?
impressive.
I thought Lugo was up over 4.
No, Lugo, as of right now, is sitting at 2.7.
Oh, okay.
And
Maybe that's BUR,
Cole Reagan's is sitting at 3.1.
right?
Lugo's
Because
not
all
even
those
the
strikeouts.
Lugo's not even over or the FWAR leader on his own team, which just
Yeah.
speaks to how great this rotation is. Yeah, because let's see, Brady Singer is down here at 24th according to FWAR, and then Michael Waka is he's on the list. Let's just say that. Jeremy, I like just like last night's game, I don't want to dissect it too much because like there's nothing to talk about there. It's not really a whole lot to talk about with this all-star race. It's good to see both Bobby and Salvi be in the phase two finalists. I will say though they
Yeah.
were really the only two deserving candidates, if you will. Were you surprised when Michael Massey was so far up the second base race in phase one? Do you remember that?
I really was. It was kind of, I mean, he wasn't particularly close to the top 2, but being
No.
third was just like, what? Huh? I'm
How?
still not entirely sure what happened there. I know somebody mentioned that his OPS, because they had some of the stats, that they would show
Yeah.
you when you were looking at the ballot, and his OPS looked really good. It didn't include the fact that he'd spent half the year on the injured list.
Mm-hmm.
So he may have been getting some votes from like NL fans who just aren't familiar with AL second baseman, who are like, oh, that's a pretty good OPS. I guess he's my guy. But yeah, it was. I also wondered if it was just like a little leftover like Infante voting magic,
Think so.
where it's like the second baseman who doesn't deserve it, vote for him. Um, but then I would have thought other Royals would have gotten some more votes too. So that the OPS thing probably makes the most sense there.
That's true. That's true. And Vinny and Michael, they both got a good amount of votes. I think Michael was 10th in phase one, and Vinny ended up in 6th in phase one. So a good showing from the Royals infield. And I'm no offense to the players doing it in the outfield, but none of them warranted all-star voting.
If
Like
Hunter Renfroe had played the whole year like he's played the last month, he would have been in serious consideration, but he
that
didn't.
An excellent point. Excellent point. And he's still on his hot streak, even after just an absolute ice cold performance at the plate from the entire lineup last night. Let's go and talk about one of those other outfielders, and MJ Melendez, though. You said, Jacob, this is your sword to fall on. This is your this I'm gonna leave this all up to you. And I will absolutely I will take that. I really, really will. So if I've been trying to step back on social media, like trying not to get as much of my vibe checks around the Royals fan base off of social media, but I've just replaced it with Josh Vernier's post game show, which might
Okay.
not be better, but still like one of the most consistent things that folks were saying up through last week is MJ Melendez needed to go down. He needed to go down to AAA, figure out his swing, yada yada yada. Well, I hate to tell you folks, but he's doing pretty dang good ever since he notably shifted his hand placement. He is. He is. And maybe it's just grading on a curve. Like you can say what you want, but I'm trying to pull up this number right now because it will surprise you. So June
Yeah.
8th,
Most
June
numbers
8th,
around MJ Melendez surprise me, good or bad. I'm just like, wow, that really is bad. There's never MJ Melendez where I'm like, yes, that makes sense.
I'm trying to think of one that would make sense. Maybe his outfield jump. His outfield jump is still pretty bad.
Is it really? I cheer.
Like I eyeball test, it is much much better because it couldn't
See?
have gotten much worse last year.
Yeah, I mean, I was still surprised by it though.
So a good healthy sample size here. 21 games dating back to June 8th. He is batting 262 with a 328 OBP and a 443 slugging, good for a 115 weighted runs created plus. He's walking at a decent clip. Like this is what we expected from MJ Melendez. I get it. This is maybe just his hot stretch. It doesn't balance out the first 2 months of really piss poor performance that we saw from him at the plate. But I will say he is doing much better right now, and I am hoping that it continues. And it continued against the Rays. I mean, he had half of the team's freaking hits last night. He had a 3-hit performance in the series opener against Tampa Bay. So that is, I think he warrants a little bit more leniency, if you will, because he is doing better as of late. But again, he couldn't have been doing much worse than he was before. Am I off my rocker here, Jeremy?
So my reaction to that is 115 WRC plus, not bad. Here's the problem. That's the hot streak. That's not
Yeah.
the season. That's the hot. When I see a hot streak, I want to see a 160, a 170. 117. I'm like, that's you're not lava hot. You're like you're sidewalk in the sun hot, which is, I mean, it's not cold, but I can probably barefoot that. We're not even talking asphalt in the sun here. We're talking sidewalk in the sun. Okay, so we're really grading, like gradiating this stuff now. But yeah, so watching him last night, I actually tweeted last night that I was really ready for JJ Piccolo to go out and get another bat. So that Michael Garcia could go further down in the order and MJ
Mhm.
Melendez could go to Omaha or to another team. I don't really care at this point. I know he got 3 hits last night, but he had some really awful swing decisions last night.
He did.
And process over results for me almost every time, unless the results just get to be unreasonable. And a 115 WRC plus is not unreasonable. So I'm still out on MJ Melendez. I was out on him all off season, despite the hot second half last year. I was like, all right, fine, if he's gonna walk and hit and everything for the first couple weeks of the season, maybe I'm wrong. And I think I even on a podcast I was like, fine, I'm wrong. And then no, I'm not wrong. I wasn't. I was wrong to say I was wrong. I'm out. I'm out on MJ. I'm out. To Obviously, I wouldn't expect that. The thing is that I don't ever expect your peak
Yeah.
to continue. And so
Yeah.
if 115 is as good as it gets, he's going to go down from there.
Well,
If you're at 160 and you go down from there, there's still lots of room to be a productive hitter. If
very
you're at
true.
115 and you go down from there, the room's not there anymore. You've lost your cushion if you go down, and he's gonna go down because that's the peak.
Well, the reason why I brought up those numbers is over his last 16 games, he does have a 159 weighted runs created plus and an OPS of 923.
All right.
So, and that's dating back to June 14th. So
Why
we,
didn't you give me those stats?
well, because I was trying to give a good healthy sample size. Okay, 20 games, 20
Right.
games.
So now we're looking at a tiny sample size we're manipulating our endpoints in order to get the position we want.
We're
That's what I'm
looking at
hearing right now.
16. We're looking at 16 games. Okay, that's still a good little run, if you will. But yeah, I know I brought it down to match my narrative a little bit more, Jeremy. Okay, I'm a writer and I'm a talker here. I gotta propagate my own narrative here.
I would love to be wrong. I would love to find out that MJ Melendez is actually just going to start crushing the ball for the rest of the year. I would love that. That would make me super happy. I
Mm-hmm.
don't I don't believe it.
And to your credit for the process over results, his 14.7% swing strike rate
Yeesh, yeah.
is not great.
And he's still swinging at those high fastballs and he can't catch up to him, can't get his bat that high. He swings at sliders outside of the zone like Salvi does, but he doesn't ever hit them hard like Salvi does.
Yeah. It's I was very surprised to see that last night because it has been a consistent thing. Not the sliders like down and away like Salvi struggles with. It's just away sliders. Like he'll have them belt high, but they'll be a good ways out of the zone, and he'll still be swinging at them. So it is a little frustrating. I don't know what to do to fix that. Just a pitch recognition thing, but MLB pitchers are in Major League Baseball for a reason. And
Yeah.
that's because they have deceptive movement. Jeremy, let's go ahead and talk about a couple of good, not I'm not saying MJ or Salvi are bad, but let's talk some more good news about the Kansas City Royals. Ben Kudrna and Gavin Cross are heading down to Globe Life Field
Yeah.
to represent the Royals in the 2024 Futures game. Just a really good rebound from Gavin Cross and more of the same, more of the upward trajectory of Ben Kudrna. Jeremy, what were your thoughts when you saw those two names pop up? Or were you just happy to see multiple Royals players go down?
I mean, multiple Royals players is great news for a farm system that's completely dead, right? Like, yeah, that's what everyone tells us.
Yeah.
Also, a farm system that we can't bear to trade anyone from, but we'll talk about that later. Well, we've already talked about it, but yeah,
Yeah.
Gavin Cross, we've talked about him on the podcast. He's been playing really well. I have not dug into Ben Kudrna's, I cannot pronounce that name. I'm sorry. I'm going to try my hardest, but Ben Kudrna's stats that much, but I've heard really good things about how he's looked from guys like Preston Farr, who I trust. And so I think those are probably very well deserved. I think Kudrna is not particularly close to MLB ready, by
No.
my understanding. He just get to Double A?
No,
So he's still in high A. Yeah, he's not
yeah,
particularly close, but he's pitching really well. Hopefully that's going to continue, and we'll see him move through the system because Seth Lugo and Michael Waka, as much as I've loved having them here this year, not going to be around forever.
no,
So we'll need new guys eventually. A guy in a high A maybe could be here in a couple of years, might be a good fit.
yep.
But Gavin Cross, I've been on the record as like, man, it would be so cool if he could be here by the end of the year. Probably more like next year. But yeah, he's continued hitting really well. That Rocky Mountain spotted fever is apparently just truly awful,
Yeah,
and he's seems well recovered from it now.
yeah, I mean, he's first off, Cross is doing great things for the Naturals right now. 22 extra base hits so far in 2024, flashing some speed that we didn't really expect from him. 15 stolen bases so far in the season as well. Plus his that plate discipline that made him the ninth overall pick in 2022 looks like it is back. The strikeouts are down, the walks are up. Just a lot of good things to like about Gavin Cross. If you haven't watched him in a Naturals lineup, go. I would highly suggest it. He's one of those players that will be consistent, be a consistent bat, but man, when he pops off, it is truly great to see in a home run heavy lineup for Northwest Arkansas. Kudrna is the most promising one, or the one I was most excited to see. Local kid out of Blue Valley Southwest, so that's always great to hear. Doing good things for the Quad Cities River Bandits, 4-4 record, 3.14 ERA on the season. His 31% called strike and whiff rate is elite in the Royals organization and in just his league altogether. Striking out opposing batters at a 25% clip, just really, really loving that. I wrote this up in Kings of Kaufman, so I'm just going to read it straight off. While other Royals prospects may excel in specific stats, Kudrna stands out for his consistency and frequent display of mid-rotation potential. That is his ceiling right now. He arguably has the highest ceiling out of any Royals pitching prospect right now, which is why he is the highest pitching prospect in the Royals system, according to MLB.com. Also, I do want to clarify this. This isn't a popularity contest amongst fans for who goes down to the futures game. So that gives me a little bit more weight to who goes down there. It's between MLB Pipeline, Baseball America, and the clubs. So I'm I'm happy to see both of them go down, and I hope that they have good performances. I know Will Klein went to Seattle last year, and we were all excited for that. And unfortunately, he just did not have a great showing. So those two going down and looking good would go a long, long ways for this farm system, I think. Any other thoughts, Jeremy?
Nope, just excited to see what the farm system can do.
Yeah. And one more note on that, nearly 90% of previous future game participants at least play in one MLB game, while 21% play in at least one All-Star game. So
Wow,
yeah, it's a pretty
1 in 5
good benchmark.
chance.
Yeah. Hey, I'll take it. I would absolutely take that. What was the other thing, Jeremy? There was something else that you said that we want to
You
talk
said
about.
you wanted to lecture us all
Goodness.
about not being patient about the trade deadline.
Are you sure? Are you sure there's nothing else to plug on RoyalsReview.com? Nothing to push this off for me to procrastinate a little bit further.
No,
Oh boy. All right. So like I said, I've been listening to a lot more Vern's post game show, hearing who calls in, what they're. Because I think it's a good gauge on if people are going to call in to a post game show at 1 o'clock in the morning, then that means they're fairly invested Royals fans, first and
probably
foremost. But secondly, I put more weight behind someone saying an opinion or saying a stance rather than just typing it out on a burner account on X.
sure.
Or sorry, on Twitter. I will say one of our followers pointed out that in a recent Supreme Court decision, they are saying they will still call it Twitter to avoid confusion. Yeah.
What the rest of us have been saying this whole time.
Yeah, I know.
Glad to hear you respect the Supreme Court, Jacob.
I'm just an Elon plant. You know that, Jeremy. I'm just
Oh
here to
no,
to
Jacob. Oh. Do I have to quit this podcast now?
No, you don't have to quit the podcast. I'm just kidding.
You don't have to quit. You're fired.
You're fired. Wrong.
No, no. Ah,
All right. Back to
please lecture me about the trade deadline, Jacob. No more. I can't take it.
Royals. I mean, truthfully, Royals fans have gotten spoiled with last year's trade deadline and the Aroldis Chapman trade coming in late June. Okay, we're
Sure.
expecting to have some massive trade return or some early trade that we'll see the benefits of before season's end. Okay, Cole Reagans, he started out the season in AAA and he pushed his way up onto the major league roster. This team, one, isn't going to sell to try and set the market. They're not going to sell Michael Wacha right now just because they feel like they can get premium value for him. But that also means
Also, they can't, but
they're not going to buy at a premium value right now and set the market for a reliever. They're not going to set the market for an outfielder out there because they do have to be calculated with who they get and how much they pay to get them. And today, the Rays traded away starting pitcher Aaron Savali to the Milwaukee Brewers, I believe it was. Kind of the first notable trade since the Luis Arias trade. It's July 3rd right now. There's still 27 days until the MLB trade deadline. So that is an early trade. But if you're going to get worked up over the Rays trading away a surplus starting pitcher who is, if you
for
go
a
look at his base,
mid-20s
what'd you say?
prospect, for a
Yeah,
mid-20s prospect,
yeah.
like not a highly
Savali is
ranked Brewers prospect.
no, not at all, not at all. And also, Savali's not a highly ranked starter. If you go look at his baseball savant page, it's bluer than the Kansas City Royals color scheme. All right, like it looks bad.
It's interesting because I was looking at his Fangraphs page, and his numbers, a lot of his numbers are very similar to his last few years. Just the home runs have gone way up for no real reason. Actually, it looks like they went down last year for no real reason. And so
So
last year he was really good. But he's not a bad starter. 5.07 ERA, 17 starts, 87 innings. He's been serviceable. And I'll let you finish your point though, because I have stuff to say, but I want to hear everything you have to say first.
okay. If we don't want to mortgage the future, the Royals aren't going to get into the trade market seriously right now. JJ Piccolo has been transparent enough about where this team needs to improve, and he's gotten more into the weeds on, well, it's not just a reliever, it's a reliever who can miss bats. Okay, we're not looking for a long relief guy, we're looking for a guy who can miss bats, which is what this bullpen needs. We need to be a little bit more patient, I think. There are so many teams out there that aren't waving the white flag yet. I think I looked at the standings last night, and there's only 5 teams that are 10 games out of a playoff spot. And that leaves 25 other teams who can reasonably look at their roster, squint hard enough, and say, oh, we might be able to make the playoffs. So I just think Royals fans need to be a little bit more patient. We can look at the targets all we want. We can look at the priorities all we want. But to expect the Royals to go out and look at, I don't know, Nick Anderson's performance last night and say, okay, we're going to get a reliever today. No matter what, we are going to get a new guy on the plane and in the bullpen Wednesday night to face off against the Rays. That's not going to happen. They're going to wait for some other dominoes to fall, see who is left, see who waves the white flag on the season, and go from there. Jeremy, your thoughts?
My thoughts are Aaron Savale as you noted, not a top tier starter, but
Yeah.
as I said, he's a serviceable guy. Didn't bring back much
No,
in a
he did not.
trade. So if that's the market setting trade, it is a buyer's market out there, and the Royals, I think they do need to be aggressive, and I think they need to do it in a hurry. One area that continues to kind of baffle me after I've kind of given them a pass for a while, but at this point I'm confused, is why are Will Klein and Walter Pennington still in Omaha? Bullpen earlier this year looked like, okay, we've got some really solid guys, and then we've got some guys that are okay, and then we've got one or two bad guys, and then they got rid of the guy from New York. I've forgotten his name all of a sudden. Sour, and they got Will Smith to turn around from an awful guy into a good guy, but they don't have anybody that is 100% reliable right now. John Schreiber went out last night, and they said, "All right, it's one run game, buddy. Go get it done." And he got 2 strikeouts.
He did.
Hooray! But he
Yeah.
also gave up another run. Chris Stratton walks too many guys. The thing about Chris Stratton that's interesting to me is most of the time he's fine. But when he's bad, he is bad. Carlos Hernandez has the same problem he's had the entire time he's been a Royal, where he struggles with his control and his stuff doesn't play up as much as it looks like it should. They
Mhm.
need to make some moves. And the longer they wait, the harder it is to keep this position. That when they had a huge cushion, when they were 5 games clear of the last wild card spot, it's like, all right, fine, let's be a little patient. We're running out of time to be patient.
Okay.
And this is also not a situation where a week ago we were like, well, maybe they should actually be sellers, because they took the 2 out of 3 from the Marlins. And then more importantly, they took 3 out of 4 from the Guardians. This is a team that can win, but it's a team that needs reinforcements. And the longer we go without the reinforcements, the worse things get while we're waiting for them, both in terms of, their wins and losses, and in terms of guys are wearing themselves out trying to, stop to earn those wins and prevent those losses without the reinforcements that they need. And then those guys aren't going to be as effective even once those reinforcements come in. So I think, and I've thought all along, that this is going to be a buyer's market, and that the Royals, if they're going to be aggressive, which is what they said they were going to be, they need to do it not just in terms of who they bring in, but when they bring them in. And I would just like to see them make some moves, really much sooner rather than later. And again, that can and should be in the form of a trade, but it should also be in the form of, let's get Will Klein up here. Let's get Walter Pennington up here. I'm kind of over Chris Stratton a little bit. I'm definitely over Nick Anderson. The thing about Nick Anderson is, like, yeah, he's probably fine, but he's not definitely. I'm like, let's try something new here. Kind of like
Okay.
we did with CJ Alexander over Nelson Velasquez. Just they've got to. And I hope Chris Bubich is going to come up soon, because they
Yeah.
could really use his help, especially. But Brady Singer, I know we weren't going to talk much about last night, but I do want to say that last night's start was actually, counterintuitively a little bit, one of the better starts that we've I've seen from him, in terms of he was still getting strikes, called strikes
Yeah.
and whiffs. He was struggling with his command a little bit, but he wasn't getting blown up. And in the past, when he struggled with his command, he gets blown up. So he was using his four seamer still. He threw a couple of changeups, and that's
Mhm.
something we haven't seen from him when he struggled. We see him usually only use those pitches when he's doing well. And
Yeah.
so to see him struggle and still be willing to go to those pitches was very encouraging to me. But he doesn't throw a lot of innings. He's averaged 5 innings or fewer this year. Why would Chris Bubich piggybacking with him, I think, could be a really interesting thing and help make that rotation spot work a little bit better. Sorry about the tangent, the rabbit trail,
You're
but to
good.
go back, I really want to see them make some moves. As I said, I want to see Michael Garcia out of the leadoff spot. I
Yeah.
want to see MJ Melendez out of the lineup. I want to see the Royals just really making the best version of themselves as quickly as possible, before their playoff hopes slip away.
Okay. I cannot disagree with the reasoning at all for wanting those moves to happen sooner rather than later, especially with the AL wild card or not the AL wildcard picture getting more crowded, but the Royals falling back into that crowd a little bit. I'm struggling to also disagree with bringing up Will Klein and Walter Pennington. Pennington would require a 40-man move, but I think that the Royals can figure something out in that sense. Once Dan Altavia maybe comes back off the IL, maybe they DFA him, bring up Pennington. I don't know. There are a bevy of moves, and then I will admit this whole Jordan Lyles situation continues to throw off my 40-man roster count. So I forget that the Royals just have this spare spot to play around with at any given time. It seems.
I
Yeah,
mean,
hard.
they're at 40 without him.
Yes, correct. But he's still
And at this point, I don't expect him back.
No, and I don't think anyone should be expecting him back at all. Don't know what the situation is, but if he's been away, one, this long, and two, this quietly, it doesn't spell.
That's the thing, is no one has said a word about him since he left.
Yeah, and I
forgot he was on this roster in any capacity.
I am excited to see what Chris Bubich can do in a devoted bullpen role. His arsenal is changing a little bit. I would highly suggest going or trying to catch him in an Omaha Storm Chasers appearance. The fastball velo is down, still in like the low 90s right now, but he's not using a slider as like at all, it seems. That was a part of his success last year, was he added a slider.
Okay. I mean, that's what the Royals do with all their pitchers. They bring them in, they add a slider, they become unhittable.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it goes.
Slider, we can't help you. If you don't.
Slider. Yeah, and it's okay for us to disagree on that. I just don't want this Royals team to go out and, send away a Gavin Cross or a Ben Kudrna to go get
I don't want that either.
Yeah.
I just don't think that they have to. Looking at Savale, I think that tells you that it's not going to take that much to bring in. Because again, we're not talking about bringing in an elite bat. I'm talking about give me a JD Martinez and give me, a couple of strikeout relievers, maybe someone from the A's, maybe Hunter Strickland from the Angels. And I'm don't give me Joe Adell. I don't want Joe Adell anymore. He's fallen off and he's too expensive. Probably Taylor Ward is too expensive. That's why I'm saying JD Martinez. Though, of course, the Royals also do have an issue where the designated hitter spot is currently occupied by Michael Massey. So they might need to actually go out and get a third baseman. Luis Rengifo would make a lot of sense, I think, as he's kind of an OBP guy. I think we talked about him last time just because Lesky brought him up, and I was like, that sounds really good. But the Royals do seem like, Michael's a second baseman now, and Massey is a DH. Rengifo, 319, 362, 448. That 362 OBP, real nice, even though his walk rate is 4.9%. How does this OBP get that high? I'm 27 years old. He's arbitration eligible still next year. He's not a free agent until 2026. So he's a guy who could be around for a little bit too. Yeah. So I don't know what's going on. I just know that, by golly, the Royals do something. I'm like that meme with the guy in the stick and he's just like poking at the thing and he's like, do something. It's me and I'm poking at the Royals. Do something.
I posted that exact same meme like probably 45 minutes before the Royals went on like their last minute trade spree.
Post it again.
Yeah. Okay, fine. I'll do it again. You got to follow me on XO at Royal Rundown Pod to see it though.
Yeah.
You're not?
No, I refuse to follow our podcast Twitter account.
Will you? I was about to say, will you follow us on Twitter then? At least I said.
All right, I guess I'll follow you on Twitter.
Yeah, there we go. You should do the same, y'all. All right, let's go ahead and get to y'all's Spotify Q&A responses. So if you are a first-time listener, you should transition over to Spotify because there you have access to our polls and our Q&As. and we've been getting a lot of responses on the Q&As, which has been very, very nice. I will say I love hearing from y'all. And I know I went with some general Royals related questions past couple of go rounds, but I asked on the last one, how does the Guardians series win change your outlook on the Royals, or does it? And apparently our listeners did as well, thankfully. Luke 57 says, it makes me feel better about my optimism this season. I'm excited to see playoff baseball for the first time in a decade. I playoff baseball again. Luke, I ain't gonna say that they're gonna win in the postseason, but as long as they're in the race in September, I'd be happy. What about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, this is ultimately about entertainment, right?
Yeah.
We want to be entertained. We all watch sports because we are entertained by them.
Yep.
And the longer the Royals are competitive, they go all the way to the World Series. That's the longest period they could be competitive in a season, right? But the longer they're competitive, the more entertaining they are. As soon as they stop being competitive, they stop being entertaining. At least to me. So I've been having a great time this year
Yeah.
watching all the games. At least all of them I can. It's real hard to watch 162 games as an adult,
It is.
y'all. But it's that's yeah. If they're still playing in for a playoff spot in September, I'm gonna feel really good. That actually reminds me of a point I wanted to throw out there. I don't remember if I mentioned it before. I saw a take on Twitter at one point that like this team reminds some people more of the 2013 team than the 2014 team, which is an interesting take because the 2013 team won three fewer games than the 2014 team. The difference
Wow.
between the 2013 and 14 teams was not the team, it was all the teams around them. It took, I think, 92 wins to make the playoffs in 2013, and it took 87 to to make the playoffs in 2014. So, that's kind of in that sense, yeah, it does remind me a little bit of the 2013 team in that, man, there are some real good teams right now that the Royals are
Yeah.
having a battle with. And if they have to get to 95 wins or something to make the postseason, that's going to be rough. But
It
if
is.
they only have to get to 85, I think that's really doable.
Yeah.
And 90 is still a possibility.
As of right now, they are. We talked about the road to 90 last go around. I don't want to dive
Yeah.
into it right now again, of course, with it being so recent. But as of right now, they are on pace for 88 wins. Okay, that is, you should absolutely be in the thick of a wild card hunt right now, especially with the expanded wild card. And as of right now, they are in a wild card spot. I believe they're in that. No, they're not in the final one. They are tied with the Mariners for like the 2 and 3 spot.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah. So
So
they're
that's actually better than I thought they were. I thought they might be a game out of the third one right now.
nope, they are in it, thankfully. And I will say there's a good gap right now. So the Red Sox, notable, are they a buyer
Do the
or are they a
Royals
seller
play
this year?
next week?
Yes, yeah, a 3-game set next week, if I recall correctly. So that should be good. But they are a half game out, and then after them, you go down to the Astros, who are 3 games out. You go down to the Rays, who are 3 games out. Like we're starting to see more of that separation, even if the overall picture is still very crowded. Or there are levels to this. There are tiers to this.
That actually brings up a point that I was reading in Lesky's newsletter, which is that there is no more game 163.
Yeah.
The tiebreaker is the head-to-head records, first of all. So the Royals need to be beating. We've talked about beat the 500 teams, blah 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 blah. But they do need to beat these wild card hopefuls like the Rays, like the Red
Mm-hmm.
Sox, like the Mariners. I think it's too late for the Mariners. I think they tied with the Mariners. They were
Yeah, I
three and
think
three,
so.
so the tiebreaker would go somewhere else. But if they could take both of the rest of these games against the Rays, then they hold that tiebreaker. They beat
Exactly.
season series with the with the Red Sox. They only need one more against the Astros, I think, to win that season series too. So
Wow.
it is important to win these series right here for those tiebreakers.
Yes, absolutely. Moving on, Nash fan Sam says, stays the same. They will be a contender for the division till the end. Royals have just enough to compete. The rotation keeps the Royals in games. Lugo, best signing of the year? Question mark. Happy shot. And yeah, I don't think anyone's going to disagree with you on that, Sam. I will disagree with you on one point, though. They're not really in the hunt for the division anymore. I don't think they are. I mean, eight games back at before the All
There's
Star break.
time to make that up, especially because I believe the Guardians are going to fall off. So really, the Twins are the team that I think they're fighting with for the division. So how far are they behind the Twins right now?
They are 2 games behind the Twins.
Yeah, so I think the division is still in play, even though there's that 8-game stretch. I don't think the Guardians are going to be as good going forward as they have been.
Okay, maybe I'm being cautiously optimistic and just focusing on that wild card spot.
I mean, take the wild card spot. Any way you get into the playoffs, I'm good with,
Yeah,
honestly.
because here I'm pulling this up just to verify something real quick. Because if I recall correctly, okay, no, the Diamondbacks won their division last year, but the Rangers, who won the World Series, were a wild card team last year. Like you never know. As long as you get into the dance, that is what matters the most.
2014 Royals will tell you.
Yep.
If you're in the dance, anything can happen.
Mm-hmm. Dylan says, we must be cheating since our home record is so good compared to our away record. Sarcastically. In all seriousness, this series doesn't change my outlook much. I am expecting them to make the playoffs. MK says, nope. Still World Series or bust, baby. Yeah, that's all we're used to in the Royals fan base.
Every year, just why they're going to the World Series for sure.
Yeah. Why worry about making it to the postseason when we're going to make it to the World Series if we make it in the postseason? That's
To be fair, the last 3 times have made the playoffs, they went to the World Series.
Exactly. Aaron Bailey says none. It's an up and down season. Great result. Just breathe through your eyelids and stay the course. Kidding. But
That's a Rexism, right?
Yeah, I know, right? Kidding, but great to beat Cleveland. They should look to buy, but I'm actually okay if they sell. That's interesting. And then lastly, Christopher says the Royals need to be buyers at the deadline. How much for an injured Mike Trout? Well, go fire up that baseball trade simulator and get back to me there, Christopher. Huh? Let me know if we can send
Heston
Kyle.
Kjerstad is not coming through that door.
I was truthfully when they sent him down in like May or June, I think it was. I was really hopeful. I was like, man, could the Royals swing that trade? Could they go get Heston Kjerstad and give him every day at bats in the outfield? Yeah, not happening anymore. Not going anywhere. Come on. No way. Can we go get Gunnar Henderson?
The ridiculous rumors mill. Yeah, but I mean, if the Orioles don't want him, I'll take him for sure.
Well, listen, Gunnar Henderson. He's blocking the way for Jackson Holiday. Let's go get Gunnar Henderson. Move him to third base. And it's a win-win-win, baby.
Man, can you imagine an infield defense with Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt Jr., and Maikel Garcia?
I would love it.
There would be no ground ball hits ever again.
It's just a black hole. It's just a black hole that any ground ball is not getting past. And frankly, they went through a rough stretch defensively, but this team overall is still very, very good defensively. And don't come at me with the, well, Vinny Pasquantino let a ground ball go through his legs last night. I'm what was it, 108 off the bat directly in between my legs. I would love to see any of us.
I would be glad that went between my legs and not higher.
Yeah, and not closer to the vertex, if you will, of said legs. Man. But
Maikel has looked really good over at second to me. I mean, he's had a couple, like, if he plays, overall, very good. Like, he's got great range. He's made mostly accurate throws. I think he's only going to get better. I'm very excited about the possibility of him playing at second.
Yeah, it's a
His
great
bat plays better at second.
That it does. The profile of it plays so much better at second base. And just to plug in another thing, I am later on this week for Kings of Kaufman, I am going to come out with 2 articles focusing on third base. The 3 unrealistic trade names and the 3 realistic ones.
Manny Machado.
I hate to
Jordan Westberg.
Oh my gosh. Oh, Jeremy. Also, Preston, if you're listening, I totally get it. I totally get the no Astros and Guardians shtick on your All-Star voting, but Jose Ramirez is just so damn good. I had to vote for him.
Dude is unreal.
Especially after that series, it was like, yep, this guy's.
I voted Westberg because
Really?
I am a closet Orioles fan. When I'm not rooting for the Royals, I'm rooting for the Orioles. I lived a year in DC.
Dude, are we the same? Literally, I was making the jokes about MLB The Show 19. Well, I had to do my road to the show, and I went to the Orioles. The AAA team is 20 minutes away from me, so I am kind of sorta in the realm of Orioles fan base as well. I just don't like them when the Royals face off against them.
Yeah,
Jeremy,
no, I obviously root against the Orioles when the Royals
yes.
are playing them, but otherwise I'm generally like, yeah, hey, Orioles, hey, Ryan O'Hearn, I still get to root for you. Cool.
Yeah. Well, look at you go.
I was a huge Ryan O'Hearn fan for a long time. It took me a while to be like, all right, it's time to give up on him, guys. Not as long as it took take me a while. So I'm real glad that he's hitting good. He made it to the top 2, didn't he?
Yeah,
Amazing. That's so cool.
And I don't think he's gonna be the top vote getter, but it's good.
Who's he voted against? I can't remember.
Yordan Alvarez.
Yeah, no.
The machine.
It's cool that he's there.
Exactly. All right, Jeremy, what do you say we get on to our reviews?
Sure, let's do it. You go first.
I just got a quick one. First episode of the new season of Hard Knocks came out last night. If you're unaware of what Hard Knocks is, please go change that. Right now it's streaming on Max. And traditionally what it does is it follows a NFL franchise through the post-draft and preseason process. So like training camps, personnel decisions, you get a look behind the scenes. Well, this year they went much early. So like we're talking about early stages of like before free agency opens. We're going to get to the draft later on. Like it's an expanded scope of what it covers, and we're following the Giants this year, which is just, a big market franchise is going to be more fun to follow, I think. And first episode was great. It was awesome. It was good insight. The folks that think NFL front offices don't do much or they have too many heads in the room, they're gonna love this this episode. So go check it out on Max. It's streaming, and I think weekly episodes will be dropping Tuesday nights. Jeremy, on to you.
So I am also going to review a show that only has one episode out. And that is Never Stop Blowing Up, which is the new season of Dimension 20 over.
Okay.
And this year, this season is set in a world kind of based on like 80s action movies, which is what I grew up with, baby. And Sylvester Stallone, all the guys that are in Expendables. That's what I grew up. Bruce Willis. That's what I grew up with. So it's kind of a parody, but also like a loving look at kind of 80s action movie stuff. The first episode is out. It's introducing the characters. So the characters are kind of, each player is playing 2 characters, sort of. They'll play like they're playing people who work at a video store that's going out of business, video rental store. Because apparently some of those still exist. There are still video rental stores out there. Can you believe it?
What?
So they're at a video rental store, and they at the very end of the episode, they all get trapped into action hero character bodies. And so the the next episode is going to be dealing with that, I suppose. And I think that's supposed to, I can't remember if that's every other Wednesday or every Wednesday. So hopefully I'm looking forward to an episode tonight, but definitely an episode next week. And the first, the introduction episodes are always a little bit slow, but the character prototypes are really fun. Immediately we're dropped into a preview of a guy. So I forgot all of the characters' names. So there's a super spy, and his name is Greg Bond. Excuse me, Greg Stock. Greg
What?
Stock. Stocks and bonds.
Yeah.
And then there's a Vin Diesel parody. There's all kinds of good stuff going on. I'm very excited to see what happens this season.
Okay. I like it. Jeremy, I do have one more shameless plug before we get out of here. So if you're unaware, I also write for Arrowhead Addict, the fan sided arm for the
I didn't know that.
And we're probably pushing a couple of months now, but a couple months back, I had an idea and I had to reach out to the powers that be to see if I could execute said idea. And I started up the column, Milham Minutes, and it's exactly what it sounds like. But nothing. The previous iteration, if you recognize the name, didn't grow overnight. I only got 2 entries, but one thing that made Mellinger's version so notable is the fact that it was a lot of reader interaction. It was all he had to do was say, "Minutes is out. Let me hear it." And the responses came flooding in and stuff like that. I want to get to that point, but right now I'm telling my Chiefs related story, trying to put some heart on the screen. I appreciate everyone who's reached out about the Mitch Holtis piece that I put out yesterday. Really, really tried to invest myself more into that. So it's going to be a weekly thing, hopefully, as long as the Arrowhead Addict schedule allows it. But please go check it out. Give me your thoughts. All my contact info is in the article itself. So make sure that you have to read it to get to where my email is and stuff like that. So please go check it out. Jeremy, do you have any shameless plugs?
I am, since I'm on vacation this week, I am going to spend some time really digging into some numbers. I'll go ahead and tell you what I'm looking at because I don't actually have a conclusion yet. So Rex has spent all year telling us that strikeouts just take so many pitches, and so pitchers should pitch to contact. And so I am trying to really dig into some numbers. I have pulled so many numbers from Baseball Savant. And figure out like how accurate is that, and what's kind of the difference there, and hopefully I will have some conclusions for us to read on Saturday.
Hey, I look forward to it as long as you ain't trying to write any SQL out there to get what you need.
I would have if I could get my hands on the raw MLB stat database.
Yeah.
My sequel would let me do this so much easier than trying to use the query tool that they have on Baseball Savant, but I'm getting there.
Okay. I will say that I'm not a huge fan of trying to find specific stats on Baseball Savant. Like I love the player pages, but looking for individual stuff, it's kind of hard sometimes on a league wide basis.
Yeah. And I've had to restrict myself to the Royals a little bit because when I tried to plug in, for example, I wanted to see how many pitches it takes to get a strikeout. When I tried to get that for like the entire league last year, it absolutely choked on me. And so I went with just the Royals. But I'm hoping to get some interesting information.
Was it Lee who had a good bit come out today on here, I'm actually just.
I haven't been on there yet today.
So, well, listen, we both have a bookmark. I've just been running around all morning. Yeah, Bradford Lee had a good piece titled "The Tragic Career of Mike Jones." So just some of those more some of those more
minute. He's a great history guy.
He is. He's awesome at it, dude. I feel like whenever I read his stuff, I come away wiser for it or a more informed Royals fan for it. So go check that out. Go show him some love. That is going to do it for us today on the Royals Rundown podcast. Wherever you're listening to us, please make sure to follow or subscribe so that you never miss an episode, or you can give us a rating, a review. It really helps out the podcast grow and helps us reach more Royals fans out there. He is Jeremy Greco. I am Jake Milham. Thank you for joining us tonight, and until next time, go Royals!